Sometimes it might rain, sometimes it might snow. Sometimes you might cry, be sad, you know what that's shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man. Sometimes you might stop, sometimes you might go. You might make mistakes, but that's just how you grow. Shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man.
Welcome to another episode of the Shades of a Man podcast. This is a special one. This episode is called Kids to Kings. The man Malik became without a father. And I'm with special guest, Malik Champlain. What's up, brother?
Man, peace, King. I appreciate you. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. All right. How you doing?
Man, we good, man. Thank you for the invite. I love being on the pod, and I'm ready to tackle some things.
Oh wow! Like I must admit, I'm super excited. Every week, I feel like I'm blessed to have amazing individuals that I look up to, and I have an opportunity to open them up and show them to other people, and let people know that sometimes you're looking to sit at the table with other people, and the table you already sitting at, you're amongst royalty, and that's how I feel when I'm amongst the people that I'm around. So, today's episode is called Kings to King, Kids to Kings, and our guest is a man who walked that road. He is an author. He's an educator in many ways, a speaker, an architect of resilience, a man who has built his throne brick by brick without a blueprint. Some people grow up with everything and they never find their way. Others grow up with nothing and still rise because pain becomes a compass. Malik didn't become the man he is despite what he lacked. He became it because of it. And we're about to dig into that truth. But before we begin, I got a poem that I wrote. Let me find it because I only memorized 2 poems in my life and a manhood monologue and a whole bunch of rap songs I wrote. And so I'm going to read it off the paper. And this poem is inspired by you, Malik. And let me tell you the background because you don't know this background. When I was in college, all our friends, we tried to uplift each other by calling each other king. But I truly didn't understand the word, nor was I even trying to behave in the manner of a king. And one of the first times I met you back in the day, you said that one of the things that you always use is the phrase king. And still, about 12 years ago, I think probably the first time I met you at something that one of our friends did, Black Man Can. We did some kind of event, and you were there, and you said the king. It still didn't resonate. And then recently, in the last 2 years, you said it to me, and I was like, man, I'm a king. I'm a king. And it's believing in that. So this is what I wrote. I wrote this recently. This is not one of my old poems. This is something new. I am a king, not because I was born from a king, but because I survived and I believe in the Most High. I am a king, not because I wear a crown, but because I've been knocked down over and over and over. And I get up. I'm still around. I am a king, not because I rule over people, but because I love people. I adore people. And I am people. No matter your status, I believe we were created equal. I am a king, not because I am royalty, but because I present loyalty to all those who love me. I am true to them as they are to me. I am a king not because I have or deserve a queen, but because I give to all those who want to receive. I am a king. I am a king, and I will always be a king. Thank you,
Come on,
because you
come
inspired
on,
that, bro.
come on. I love that. I love that. I felt that too. Heard.
Yeah, and I wrote it somewhere in the middle of the book because
Mm-hmm.
before the book, like I knew your story, but not the details, not the complete details, like is presented in your book. And after reading the book, I was like, whoa, like it just
Mm-hmm.
it hit me
Mm-hmm.
different. Like I look at you different, in a
Mm-hmm.
most respectful way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you heard the first talk about the word king and what it means to you, and and talk about how and why you use that to refer to the people around you and what that poem meant. That's like three questions in one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I look first and foremost. I wanted to say that like nah, I felt that poem, man, and like I love poetry, I love spoken word, I love the ability just to express yourself. So for me, my background though, right? You gotta understand like culturally, I grew up as 100% both a black man and indigenous man. So with that, as an indigenous man, like we say that the spoken word is good medicine. So I always knew that like when you are greeting somebody, when you're bringing something out, something that I started off with just calling, our young brothers kings because we was always saying the N word, right? And I know for me, like I understood where I was coming from in terms of endearment, but the destruction in which the word had for me, I decided that, you know what, I wanted to pull something out of you and not make it about me but make it about you, right? And sometimes I'm a firm believer that we sometimes need permission to be great, right? And in order to be great, right, we really have to make sure that other people sometimes light that candle for us. So I wanted to light that candle. So when I see somebody, right, we know sometimes as men there's animosity, there's the body language and all that. And for me, I just was like, as I understood who I was as a man and and developing the king inside me, I wanted to share that with other people. And I wanted to break those walls down and be the first one to just like, yo, peace, king. Like, what's going on? Like, I want you to know where my energy is and then also how I see you, right? Without even knowing you, but just how I see you and what not just me, but what the world needs from you, which is for you to let that light shine, for you to be that king, for you to stand 10 toes down.
Powerful. Whew. Yeah, and it really. I don't remember the last time I used the N word. Honestly, it might have slipped. In some ways, kind of like a profanity slips out of my mouth because it was used so long in my group,
Mm,
and now it like offends me when I hear music that even songs that have that use it that I grew up singing. I
mm,
kind of like it don't have the same energy that I had before. I still like the
mm.
song, but
Heard.
I can't hit it the same way. So I totally recognize what you're talking about. So I'm gonna start kind of digging. Well, first of all, this book, Passion, Hunger, Drive, Live Your
Yeah.
Dreams, Not Your Fears, um, was a very good book. That's all right. So it's on Amazon. That's where I got it from. So people, get on Amazon, get Passion, Hunger, Drive, Live Your Dreams, Not Your Fears by Malik Champlain, forwarded by Principal Leonard Epps, who was my principal about a decade ago. So I I, I have respect for both people who are involved in this book, and I didn't know that
Yeah.
when I bought the book that he was that he forwarded it, and that was like amazing too. I was like, man, I'm just everyone like that I'm around is just dope, and that's a blessing. And so I want to kind of dig into this book. And,
Yeah.
and so the book looked like I was studying for an exam, first and foremost, because there was so many things when I read it that I highlighted. So many quotes, so many like that. When I started developing the show and this outline, I was like, man, I can't even get through this book in the show. So then I had to start taking away. Like you have to read the book because I can't give you anything on the whole book in this podcast. But we're gonna get to know enough that you're gonna buy this book. I promise you that. So let's rewind and go back to this book. Let's talk about what I think is the most powerful thing. Let's talk about absence. And not only absence, but not knowing there's an absence. Because that's like I'm reading the book and I'm like he got it pretty good. And then bam. So let's talk about absence, the father shape, and how this father image shapes in your world. And because I know how you stand as a man, right? And how that shaped you as a man, because we don't know why, but that could have went totally the opposite way. And it didn't. It went, that's how the world, and I wish I had the explanation of how things happen to people, and some people do this and the other people do that. So explain, let's talk about the absence. And you know what I'm talking about, they don't yet.
So So I think to your point is that when things happen in your life, right? Sometimes looking at like a movie sometimes is that it's either like when trauma happens, when something that really rocks your world, right? And moves your foundation, two things are really there to happen. And the two things are either it's like your villain origin story or your hero origin story. Either you want everybody to feel this pain that you have inside that's eating you alive, right? Because we talk about passion, hunger, drive. And there were things that cause not passion, but pain, hatred, and destruction, right? And then there's another part where you want nobody to feel this, right? So you want to be this protector. You want to be somebody who's able to rewrite the story, right? To take back over control, to not let those things dictate you. So I know, growing up, you hear a lot of they used to say it had the acronym POEM, right? So as in POME, right? A product of my environment. Right. So, but like I said, for me, when I understood who I was as a man, I had to really take a step back and start thinking about, right, we follow this thing indigenously of 7 generations. You take the 3 generations behind you and their wisdom, and you make decisions for the 3 generations ahead of you. Right. So for me, I'm not a POME, I'm a POMA. Right. So I'm not a product of my environment or decisions that my biological father who didn't want me made, or my stepfather who I didn't know was my stepfather till I was 9, right? That that he made in going in and out of incarceration, right? I'm a product of my ancestors, right? I'm a product of the shoulders that I stand on, the footsteps that I follow, and the strides that I try to keep up with, right? So I might not have had that. So what I talk to expressing myself, right? So I'll give it to you like this. Mom had me 17 out running the streets, had to hold me close because we couldn't afford the heat. My real father didn't want me, said he ain't gonna take it. Even family turned their back like we ain't gonna make it. Mama always loved me. Daddy hit and ran. I looked in the mirror. I couldn't understand. I was just a boy, trying to be a man. I was just a boy, but I had to help feed the fam. So we talk about the abandonment, and what you're talking about in the story really is I tell the story about how my father had came home from jail, right? And if you ask me today, the same it was 10 years ago when I wrote the book, the happiest day of my life was when he came home from jail. I'm outside playing red light, green light with some friends, and I get surprised that he's home, right? And we're living rough right now, right? So then what happens is that fast forward, right? I have some friends laughing at me, telling me that yo, you don't even look like your pops. Now, for me, I never really questioned much until they started saying that. And then I have this situation with my mom's, and we're driving, and I ask her, because I'm like, yo, you gonna keep it real with me? But mind you, once again, I'm 8, 9 years old, and I'm asking this question yo, they saying this, but y'all have told me this my whole life. What's up, son? The math ain't mathing. And my mother just, had that look in the face, and I kind of could already tell. And then just gave it to me straight, right?
Whew. Man, like so every time I hear that story, is like I grasp the story. Like we all have our battle, our traumas in our lives, and when I listen to that story, and I see how what I consider like a small issue of my dad just leaving, right, and not being around, and then I kind of took that what you said. I took that pain and I projected that on the world through my actions to how I misbehave and put more pressure on my mother. And now just thinking about that, I remember one day my mother said to me, she said, "I just want to keep you," and this is how my mother like saw it, alive and out of jail. And she said it, and I didn't. And at the moment she said it, I didn't understand it. Like, I guess I would really honestly say in the last decade or two, between the ages of 30 and 50, I started to understand what she was really saying. Of like her struggle, and then just her struggle was just to keep me alive, which,
Yes.
out of jail. I was like, that's not much of a ceiling, in my opinion.
Yes.
But what she saw was a lot different. So when I hear that, I'm like, man, me, I don't know. I don't know if I'd have been alive or unincarcerated. Like just me personally, from
Yeah.
and that's just kind of put myself in that position. So, whew,
Yeah.
when like describe that feeling, like because at 9, like you're emotional, right? But we don't really like at 9 years old. My feelings they're different. Like when you sat back and wrote it, like because you wrote this, like knowing that you were gonna have a family. Like,
Yeah.
how was it different from being 9?
It was therapeutic, right? Like the one thing I put this on everything is that even at 9, I just had a certain level of social emotional intelligence where I have it tatted on my arm, like family first. Like I just knew that like sometimes there's certain things that you got to just hold it and take it like a soldier. And that's what I thought, right? Like it was, so I buried it, right? But it was eating me right inside. So what's interesting is that when I wrote the book, and I sent copies, to families, stuff like that, there were some things that we had to have real conversations about that we just didn't. And it was therapeutic because I got to say my part without having to think about everybody else, because that's always what I did. Right? Like I was the oldest. My mom had me at, 16, 17, right? Like so she was a baby, so we grew up together. Right? My mother hasn't really been my mother probably since she told me. Right? Like around 8, 9 years old, like we've been partners. Right? That's my road dog. Like you know what I mean? It's like that is a different relationship. So like I've always thought about everybody else and how they felt, So when I wrote it, it was just this release. It was this vulnerability, right? But just really just being able to tell my story for the first time, without trying to just like water it down. And I realized that like I needed to claim that for myself, and how powerful that was for me. And there were some hard conversations in different parts of the book, but even in this, because it's not just my story being told, right? And other people being like, oh, because a lot of people didn't even know that part of the story. Like most people that knew me didn't even know that, like, oh man, like that's not your dad. Like, it's one of those things where they might not have felt comfortable, right? Or wanted it to just stay the way it was. But when you give yourself that vulnerability, you free yourself, man.
100%. Every book I wrote was, and there was three, was definitely therapy. What was therapy? More therapy than talking to someone,
Come on.
right? Because there's no response. Like I'm not gonna get a response until way down the line. So I'm not, by that time I don't even care anymore, right? Because it's already done. It was already, the pen has already done its damage, right? And there's no back and forth. So sometimes the
Also,
book and the writing, yeah, go ahead.
no, I also want to add is that like um some people find you at different points in your life, right? Like I know a ton of people who like kind of know me over the last like 5 or 10 years. And I would say like I'm a way more polished version of myself, right? Like because it's compound interest of building the man that you want to be, right? Building by design, not default. And the way I was able to design, a lot of times in the beginning, I didn't have the keys to success. I just knew the road to failure, and I just didn't want to take it. So I just really just mapped it out. Like, hey, look, I just know I don't want to do that. So when you see brothers like that I'm connected with, like yourself included, it's because once again, like I'm going shopping, like I'm adding to my shield, I'm adding to my toolbox. So when people see me, they're just seeing a bunch of tools I collected, right? So like when you see Leonard Epps on the front of the book writing the forward, no doubt, because if it wasn't for like the level of manhood that he represents, that he's represented in my life, right? Like this resiliency, this calmness, this knowing of self, of not letting nobody push you off your square, right? Like things that I just didn't have because I was a live wire. Like you say something, I'm highly emotional, right? Like it's just a man who's meaningful, active, and necessary, right? That's what I saw. Like at work, when I worked for him myself, at home, right? In the community, like, and it's like, oh snap, like that's what integrity looks like, right? And being able to build those things because like when I mean like to your point, like broken, right? If I could write a million books, I still have that fire though. Like that rage inside, that thing I hide in the basement where I try to put behind nice little titles and degrees and $5 words so that people sometimes don't get the smell of it because it still burns sometimes inside of me. Right? That like I have to go to the gym and hit the heavy bag. Right? The times where like I gotta just be in time by myself so like I could just figure it out. Right? Like those things because like you do your best, but some stuff still just it's some demons you still have to fight. This idea of worth, right? Like something I really like, and shout out to my man Demetrius, right? Demetrius Chambly, like that's my brother, yo. I mean, when I mean my brother, like that is my dog. Like we might as well have been born from the same mother. That's my man. Like, and when I mean like what he's taught me about Sabbath, not hustle, right? And us having deep conversations and him being like, yo, you don't have to work that hard for people to love you, bro. Like you don't have to always be producing, right? Like I couldn't, like I didn't see it. I didn't see like, why is it that you always have to grind? Why is it you always got to go? Why you have to be fully consumed? Because it's like, man, if I don't do it, they won't love me, bro. And it's like, why? Because like, how could the man who brought you in this world not love you? Like how, bro? And then I struggled with, as much as I love my step pops, right? He was in the house and out the house and getting kicked out, getting in jail, out of jail. So like that was inconsistent. But like when he was there, especially when I was a teenager and I was begging for that attention, like he ain't messing with your boy like that. He didn't like. It wasn't that he hated me, but what was worse was that he had apathy. He was indifferent. Right? Like, and that killed me. Like, how could this man? See, my biological father don't know me. right? So I had to fire like, you know what? I'm gonna be successful. And one day you're gonna hear my name and you're gonna know you ain't had nothing to do with it, right? You gonna hear it's gonna ring bells, and you're gonna know that you had nothing to do with it. But how you gonna see me every day, dog? How you gonna see me every day and not wanna rock with me, and not think enough of me to just go to the park, just hang out, just spend time with me? Because a lot of times I'm just still that 7-year-old boy crying at home, watching the VHS, hoping you come home from jail, right? But the only present I want is your presence.
Mm. Yeah, I got a poem that I say that about my father. I don't. My father gave me a lot of gifts. You know, car, money. You know, gave me the gifts, but I didn't want his presence. I just wanted his presence.
Right.
Short story on the father thing is that, you know, my dad taught me how to play ball, and my dad grew up playing with legends. Like 6 of the guys that he grew up playing with all played in the league for a while, and that was like where he played. And so he taught me the basics of the game before he left at 10 years old, and I basically thought that if I became a great basketball player, my dad would love me. So I was playing basketball to gain love from my father. I love football. That was my thing. But I was playing basketball because I said, if I'm good, my father's gonna come see me play. And my father came to one game in my high school career, and he had the ability to come to more. And he lived in North Carolina, but he still had the ability to come to more. He came to one game, and it like broke me because we played Danbury High School. At the time, they had a guy named Anthony Harris. They called him Snake. He went to Syracuse. He was Player of the Year, Connecticut 2 years in a row, Gatorade, Parade All-American, all the accolades, right? And we go at it. 31. I have 31. He had 31. And my dad talked about the one layup I missed, the free throw I missed. Like it was nothing positive. He had nothing positive to say. And I was like, yo, I'll never be good enough. And that's what I thought. Never be good enough. Moving on, because there was another, I'm a teacher, and that's how I know Mr. Epps, obviously, and you worked in the educational field, and you once had a teacher who didn't see you. And you know, sometimes I know all my students see me because I make them see me. And a lot of times I think they can't stand me because I try to hold them accountable. And we don't like to be held accountable. And but what I notice is, you know, they always come back around later on in life and say, Mr. Hauser, thank you. Thank you for never giving up. Thank you for always saying something to me about what I was doing and trying to. They use the word trying to hold me accountable and make me better. So what did that feel like having, and I've been there, so I understand it from my view, but what did that feel like having a teacher, especially having a learning disability that really, when addressed, like what I believe made you who you are. Like I believe that your learning disability is partially why you're so good at the things you do.
I think, man, like not having a teacher see you, I think one for me at that age, right, trying to go back to that was triggering, right? So if I'm not feeling seen at home and you get paid to see me, like just being real, like I'm trying, I'm working, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And sometimes, you know, especially, you know, when I was going to North Free Academy at the time, you know, a lot of white teachers back then didn't see a little black boy like me like that, or give him any attention, or when they did, they didn't see me. They only saw, you know, their own bias, their own fear, and there was a lot of that. My mother was a lot of times scared. Like she was definitely trying to get me to like, I want you to wear polo shirts. I want you to, you know, talk in this vernacular. And I was very much, right, like my own person, even, you know, back then of like, well, you know, I do all the homework. I work really hard, right? Like all the things I had, learned about like how to learn from having learned disability really taught me, because there's a way that you do school, right? And sometimes kids are smart, but they just don't know how to do school. Like they don't know how to learn something new or to learn into their learning style. And I was lucky enough because of the services I received to really understand what that took. So when a teacher wouldn't see me and sometimes would just project things on me, it would be because back then, Jay-Z got the throwback jerseys. You wearing them backwards, you got a do-rag on, you got a 5X Galaxy t-shirt. You know what I mean? And their projection was that, hey, I'm gonna call him Malik because he's not gonna know. Or hey, I'm going to and just being honest is like by the time I kind of got a bearing on myself and understood that like, I am smart, I am these things, you couldn't just ignore me. So if you try to call me out because you thought maybe I didn't know something, then I would do things to make sure that you knew not only that I knew it, that I had mastery on it. And when you're young, you're a teenager, you know how to get under a teacher's skin in ways that challenge authority. And I think for me, that what made me a really good special ed teacher because I kind of understood all those tricks. But I would say for me, it was really wanting to be judged by my character, by the things that I did, and not just seen in these ways, man, that like that really like the labels that frame us.
I'm scrolling through because and there was a poem in your book.
Yeah.
Uh,
Page
yeah, there was a poem
35.
that you wrote in your book, huh?
Page 35.
Remember what poem it is? You want to read that for us, or do you remember it? Do you remember it? I'm trying to find that. I highlighted it somewhere, but I got so many marks in this book.
Was it one on page? Well, no, I know I do the I am poem on page 35. I think it was the one before that.
Hold on, let me see. I think it might be that one. 34, 36, 35. Yes, reflection. Yup.
So I know I give everybody an I am poem, but the other one I know
I
I know
am,
there's a
and I
yep, but
I write a poem called I Am and work out like I make my students tell me all the things they are at the beginning of the year and to try to at the end of the year
yeah.
have them come back and tell me all the things they become. It's similar to that poem. I like that. But
What
there's so many
which
integral
poem,
parts to this book.
which poem is that one? How's it start?
I highlighted the poem and I'm going through it and it's because we on tape. I ain't gonna be able to find it now.
No,
So
no,
we're
you're
going
good.
back and
You're
forth.
good. But there's different ones in there that like,
It's
I know
Dream Chase. Dream Chase.
is it yep. So
Dream Chase.
some of those lyrics I used earlier, like Mom had me 17.
Okay. Yep. You did. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
thought that
no, so
that was
you're
I
right, but
heard it
like
before.
but even the I am poem is that like, you if you know anything about me, I'm always gonna rock with my ancestors. So if I'm like I'm the unspoken words of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I represent the brothers that rock chains and those that write checks. I'm the wind in the forest that whispers the story of my people. I'm that person in the kitchen they wouldn't serve because I wasn't their equal. I'm the beautiful voice praising the Lord in the gospel choir. I'm the repercussions of racism and black power. I'm the original man, the beauty of God's greatest creation. I'm the beating heart of a race I would not accept annihilation. I'm the blood of a king and son of a queen. I'm that melanin in my skin that lets me skip the sunscreen. I'm the soul and soul food and swag and swagger. I'm freedom song, that crack in Liberty's bell. I'm the last dying breath of Trayvon, George, and Emmett Till. Hate in this country that spreads like a disease. I'm the untold stories of those brothers hanging from trees. Black on black crime, but don't start with a trigger. It's the Willie Lynch theory. We call ourselves. I'm the last of a dying breed, a man not afraid to roll up his sleeves. Parents, stop buying your kids sneakers versus a book to read. Men, stop writing out in your families. You got a ship to lead. I'm the March on Washington where King had a dream. I'm the silent protest of the 1968 Olympic team. I'm the re-education of the miseducated Negro. From high school to jail, that is the new Jim Crow. My mother raised a strong black man, not a follower, but a leader. Look me in my eyes. I am my brother's keeper. I tell him, follow me, like the slave did the North Star. I am because we are. We are because people before us, they raised the ball. I am both joy and pain. I am Malik Champlain. Peace.
I've heard that on many occasions, and to me, it's like a classic hip hop song, right? That no matter, like, it's like you wait for parts that you want to hear because you know they resonate so much, and it's powerful. And there was a time where I think our music symbolized that power.
Come on.
When I say our music, I mean like the hip hop, like, you know, from Public Enemy to KRS-One, Intelligent Hoodlum. It's like they encompassed power of ourselves that didn't have anything to do with hurting each other.
Come on.
And that transformation. You said something earlier that struck, and I didn't write it down, but it came back to my ADD mind. Was that people know you meet you at different points in your life, and those different points, like we're all different at different places, and that's part of this podcast. Shades of a Man, like yeah. I'm just like a reptile, like I'm peeling off skin and growing and peeling, you know, like because the yesterday of me it dies, and I remember that skin, but it's no longer me. But a person that knew me when I had that skin is going to look at me as that person with that skin. Like, example, like you probably had this because you played ball. Like, I see a person from like high school. I'm 52 years old now. Are you still balling? It's like, no, I'm not balling. Oh, really? Why not? Like, because they only know that old skin.
Yeah.
And we can get stuck on it.
I appreciate you saying that because I would say for me, I think so many times our brothers are stuck in a certain hood, right? Or on a certain level, and we start playing our lives like we Uncle Rico, right? From Napoleon Dynamite, where the best of our life is behind us, not knowing it's in front of us. So all we do is live our life in the rearview mirror. And it's like, you know, look, all the love, King, right? To that season. But guess what? I've had a ton more. Right. And so do you, right? We have all these growths, all these different passions. You just knew me for one. Right. And I think for me, you know, I used to think that manhood was about how loud you roar versus now it's really about how well you serve. Right. Think about that shade, that right. That layer that we get to. I think that brotherhood was competition. Right. But it's more about accountability. Right? Because we had to understand when men live their life with passion, hunger, and drive, we don't just build ourselves or build businesses. We build families, we build communities, and we build legacies. Now that's real manhood.
Yes, indeed. I had a coach who said to me in high school, he said, do not, whatever happens here, do not let this be the highlight of your life. And man, I'm so glad it didn't. I'm so glad it wasn't. Because there was no state champion. I mean, even if there was, even if we won the state double L championship in high school, if that was the highlight of my life, if that was the peak, man, it'd been like these years, some of these years were rough. But that would have been, that'd have been rough. That'd have been real. The bad teacher experience, right, and all of these things, right? I'm a firm believer that you would not be the person you are today without all of these experiences. And maybe it's not fair to some of your trauma, some of the pain you feel, but the insight and the help you can give off to other people's is definitely going to show through your struggle. Like sometimes we got to go, like, we got to die so many people can live. And that's
Yeah.
just life.
So if I could add something you asked me about was like with the book, right? And I can tell you even that part of the teacher that I felt like wasn't seeing me is that something I do a lot with the young adults at my church, right? That, I do Sunday class with, is that when you're deconstructing something, make sure that you don't tear everything away because everything wasn't bad. Right? You got a lot of critiques, and it's easy to critique because the fingers are all away. But when you're reconstructing, make sure you hold on. There are knots in that rope that were good in your life that happened. So if I tell the tale of one teacher, I have to tell the tale of the second, right? Because the other side of the coin. So that means I have to talk about Miss Lorraine Dooley. She still teaches at North Free Academy. Little Irish lady, right? I knew when she was pregnant, and now her kids are in college or graduated, right? Like, it's crazy. But she's still teaching and she's still doing a phenomenal job. But this was the lady that saw more in me than I saw in myself. That decided to speak life into me. That decided to just take a shot with a young man who didn't know how to really love himself, right? Like I was somewhere between hating myself and finding enough love to keep going forward, right? And she spoke to me about college and things I can do with my life and me just and seeing things and she didn't need a whole stack of evidence. She just for whatever reason believed in me, and then she did this thing that I talk to educators all the time about, and it was the same thing for me as an educator, which is she just promised me that she's going to make it impossible for me to fail. Like she just let me know up front, Malik, I'm going to make it impossible for you to fail. This lady, we have zero common ground. We don't have much in that we're really connected with, besides the fact that she just loves my little brown behind in that seat, and she's loving on me so much that I went from a little bit of a knucklehead to almost fighting the kid in class because he was being disrespectful to her. Right? Like not even the teacher, that's my teacher. She's still the teacher that I send flowers to every year. Right? Because you got to understand, when you were a penny stock and someone believed in you, you can't forget that. You write that in stone.
I like that. I like that. Norwich Free Academy. So, you leave Norwich, you go away to college, play basketball, and were you, because I know I was, I had a 1.2 GPA, graduated in high school, ineligible for every school in the country. But I was going to the NBA still, right? So when you entered college, right, were you in college to learn, truly learn, or were you in college to play ball? And how did that change throughout your experience in college?
You know what? The generation that I came in was that my senior year, 50 Cent dropped his first album. And I really feel like that just shaped me in a way of it did a lot of negative stuff around me. But for me, it was yo, my family got to get up out of this or I'm going to die trying. Right? My mother hasn't given me money since I was 13. $1. I cut grass. I worked for TVCCA. I bagged groceries at ShopRite when I was 15. I worked at a daycare. I worked at washing dishes at Friendly's. I worked at Wendy's. I worked paid today labor. I helped put the driveway in for Bob's Discount Furniture. Anything and everything that you could do to make money, I did, and to not be a burden. Right. And so for me, I was really going with the idea that basketball was cool. And if I could make some money overseas, I wasn't with the NBA. I was nah, that's not your boy. Because I came late to the game. Right? You gotta think I was a lock and key kid for 3 years. And then, I randomly try out for the basketball team, get cut, come back my junior year, make the team, get on varsity. So I didn't have the like, I'm about to go to the league. I'm like, yo, this is gonna give me an education. Whatever job I get, I gotta make sure I get one that can pay the bills back at my mom. So we ain't living like this.
There's that dream when you know nothing else. And that was one of the things that I struggled with for a long time. And I just got blessed that basketball kind of got me into school, because it really did get me into school. And I didn't even barely play in school because I was a knucklehead, but it got me there. And somehow, the utmost said, we got to get you a degree, and we got to keep you out of jail, and then we got to keep you alive. If we can get you through all these things, then we can bless you. But first we got to do that.
But I promise you that helped me a lot when I was in high school to be a baller, because around the age when I was really getting into stuff, like having that accountability from a coach. And here's the thing, for me, coaches played when I was younger. They really were like my fathers. Like they really played that yo, character is what you do when you think no one's looking, right? Like that idea of being home early, being to class on time, taking care of, like, I learned so many things in the court that I was able to transfer to my life that my neighborhood didn't teach me. And to your point, like, I promise you, like, I learned, I was about 15, 16 years old, where I understood, like, yo, my dreams don't live outside my window. So I need something. I got to figure something out in order that's going to be my ticket. And the idea was that I could put the ball in a hole, right? And I was blessed with a little bit of height, and just was like, look, we're going to do whatever we need to do, because I knew if I stayed around long enough, I was going to get caught up and swallowed by the beast, because that's how that concrete jungle be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a part in the book where you talked about a situation that could have changed your whole life.
Oh, come on.
In a bad way. I remember when I was looking for a job, as a CO, because when I got out of college, and the market was different. I graduated in '97. Like, it's hard to get a job. And I almost went into corrections. I remember visiting the prison. I was working juvenile detention, visiting prison, and it just felt I was too comfortable around the inmates, meaning that I felt like I was only getting caught away from being in their same position, and I was like, this is not for me, not where I want to be, because they're no different than me. I know some people that never grew up kind of like on both sides of the track. Like, sometimes you just didn't get caught.
Yeah. And
you didn't get caught with something that just, like, because one catch, and I've been arrested, but I've never been caught doing nothing real stupid where it can derail your whole entire life.
No.
You almost experienced that.
I would, it's, as an older man now, I look back and I go, God had his hand on it. He has covering on me. He has hand on me. You look back at life and you see these little God winks that you didn't know before, that you thought were coincidence, that you just thought was luck, good karma, right? But the thing about it was that, like, and like I said, I'm a man of faith. So, like, when you're trying to break generational cycles, when you're trying to do things that are going to glorify, right, the devil's going to come at you. And I think for me, it was shifting I was shifting my mindset from survival to success, right? I started developing some keys, and like, okay, if I do this, if I get these grades up, if I go ahead and hoop like this, I can go and figure some things out, and I can set the pathway for my brothers who also went to college. Because you got to understand, my mother didn't even have a GED, right? And I'm talking about, I'm about to go to college. Like, me graduating high school was about to be a banging celebration. Like, what is we talking about, right? So in the midst of that, I'm up 16, 17, right? And he's like, yo, and the devil come knocking, right? And it's like, because, you learn some real good life lessons, which I learned at 16, and then I display at 18, right? Because I learned, but it's like, I was willing to sacrifice my success for the survival of my friend, but my friend did not care about my success, right? And when you come from like that, the Norwich area, you understood at that time, like if you went to Willimantic, there could have been problems. And for me, what I thought too was that I could call my boys that I knew that was about that life, and that they might bring me along, but they're gonna put in the work for me. Not understanding, I'm in but not of, right? Because I'm a hooper. So then now they like, yo, they put the gun in my hand, like, you gonna have to handle that. Like, we gonna come with you. We got you, but you gonna have to put in some work, right? So now we're driving to go, protect my boy because he's saying he about to get jumped, and then what happens next is just God's hand, right? But I think for me, what the blessing in me telling that story the way I did is that every time I tell the story, I'm saving lives. Like when I'm in Boston, when I'm in New York, when I'm in California, right, in LA County, when I'm in Fort Worth and Dallas, on the south side of Dallas, when I'm right anywhere I go telling this story over the last almost 10 years now, right? I'm saving lives because I'm telling the truth. What you hear in that chapter 2, chapter 3, like, yo, good dude, bad night, wrong place, wrong place, wrong time. In the blink of an eye, his whole life changed, right? It was this idea that when they put the gun in my waist, I didn't say, yeah, I'm ready, I'm about to. What I said was how I felt, which was that I got to keep tough on the outside, but on the inside, my heart was pumping Kool-Aid. I was nervous, sweating, knees weak, right? But now I have to go act and play a role. Right? Like, I'm telling you, like, Boys in the Hood was going through my head, right? Like, I'm playing a role, dog. And then I get out there, right, playing this role, and it's not till I look back and we get through everything that's happening and we come back home that I realized, and I have some time to process it. Because, like, the craziest part, I think, for me was coming back home and my mom cooking breakfast the next day. It was like, and I can't tell her. She just cooked breakfast the next day, and like, I'm living this like, hey, you went out last night. How'd it go? And I'm like, nah, it was cool. It was straight. Went out to a party. Like, I'm lying about it, right? And I had this experience. I was like near death, and I can't normalize that, and that can't be my life. And then I understood that, like, yo, you either gonna fly with the birds or soar with the eagles. So that taught me very quickly around who I'm gonna keep around
me. Brother, I know I could go on. Tomorrow is the first day of school. You have 3 little ones. You gotta probably be up at the crack. It's like I do. I get up with my chicken and get things started. So I'm gonna start bringing this to a closure. Some men are raised by fathers, others are raised by fire. Malik took his pain of being unseen and turned it into purpose. He turned the classroom into safe spaces and books into blueprints. And the wounds he turned into wisdom. Here's a quote. And I want you to tell me what this quote means to you. I don't just want to make it out. I wanted to make it matter. And this is in closing. What did you want to make matter?
I wanted to make my life matter, man. I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to that part. I wanted, you know what? I stopped wanting to ask people to see me. I wanted to make them see me, right? And I understood it was through the work. It was through, right, grinding. They're sleeping. It was through like whatever it takes. It was just like, I understood my power, right? Because in passion really is, it's your why, right? It's what wakes you up at night. It's not this thing that pushes you, it pulls you, right? It's just like this gravitational pull. Like I wanted to become the best version of myself, to leave nothing on the table, nothing on the plate. And I wanted to help other people do the same, right? I want to give other people the fuel to do the same. And I think for me, it was really like, I did a lot of things for other people. They had the first 18 years, right? They had the first 18 chapters, right? But it was like, yo, this is my time now, right? And for me, I understood like all the statistical things I can tell you, like that I come from, like what I learned very quickly, and just when I had that speech impediment, what I learned when I overcame the speech impediment, anything was possible. Like anything, not any, like anything and everything is possible. So it's like, you know, I went from homeless to owning multiple homes, right? I went from speechless to making a lot of money speaking. I went from being labeled special ed with a learning disability and to being an author. I write books that people really like, right? Like anything that they said I couldn't, I took those stones that they threw at me and I used them as stepping stones, right? Like, and I just wanted my life to be a living example that it doesn't matter what people say to you, right? That you could be anything you want to be in this world. Don't live your dreams. Don't let fear shrink you. Don't live in the shadows, right? Be who you want to be. Design your life. Right? Like that's what I wanted. I wanted to be everything that I could be, because what I understand is this: regardless of how long the Lord keeps me alive, right? I live a life right now, right? Number one, I live a life that the 10-year-old version of me could have never thought of, right? And it's like my son asked me like a couple weeks ago, like, Dad, what do you want to be when you get older? Like, I'm him. I'm the dream. Like my life, having y'all, like being a father, being a husband, like being somebody in the community, having brothers and brotherhood. Like, this is the dream, dog. I'm living the dream. If he takes me tomorrow, I lived it. Why? Because I've maximized it all, and I continue to do so. Right? Like and that's right. That's the impact I wanted to have.
Powerful. So, to every listener who feels like, you know, you started behind the line, remember, you were born without a blueprint, but you can still be on the throne. Go pick up this book right here. Now I'm gonna show it to you. We talked about it a lot. Go pick this up ASAP for those that. Now, you know, Spotify now has video, so you know, you go on Spotify, you can be seeing this on video. Make sure you subscribe, share, and follow Shades of a Man podcast and all that good stuff. And Malik, you have any, like, you say so many powerful things, like, and it's funny. I feel like when I go to an event, I'm like, I don't like, if I know I gotta perform, I'm mad that when I gotta leave and get ready to go when whoever's in front of me, right? Because I'm so into, like, I become fans of the people around me. Like, I'm not a fan of LeBron James. I'm a fan of Kevin Booker. I'm not a fan of you know, Saquon Barkley. I'm a fan of Abdul Rahim. This is real. Like, I'm more of a fan of the friends I'm with now than I am of athletes, because the impact that they really have on my life for real. And you're one of those brothers that has that type of impact that makes me feel like a king, although I was born from a peasant. Peace, people.
Sometimes it might rain, sometimes it might snow, sometimes you might cry, be sad, you know. But that's shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Sometimes you might stop, sometimes you might go. You might make mistakes, but that's just how you grow. Shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man.